This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so I spun up my instance. It's been running over on the Google Cloud side. I have not went back to see why I couldn't get my repos to work. I don't know what's going on there. I have to troubleshoot that, but that may be something that we may do tonight is troubleshoot, get it to work. It'll be a good lesson. All right, so the one thing I wanted everyone to do was um, have Ansible installed on their machines, have Terraform installed on their machines, and tmux. We're gonna install tmux too. So let me see. Let me if I can I do Ansible. Yeah, so Ansible is already installed on my machine here. Maybe I'll start from the beginning. How about can I do a yum install on tmux? It probably gonna fail on me because there was something wrong with their repos. Oh, cool. I could do it now. Before I couldn't do it. So what did I just do? I just did a yum install tmux. Yum is the command, install is the option, and tmux is the package. Where is that coming from? Well, if I did a man on Yum, which is a package manager for Red Hat Linux, and it's also a package manager, and it's DNF now for CentOS, and I think maybe Rocky Linux as well too, and Fedora. DNF has been around for a while. All right, so when you look at this right here, the reason why I broke down the command the way I did was you see right here DNF, then the option, and then you can see it's in brackets, and then you can see the command here, and then we see some arguments in brackets, right? And you also see the arguments in greater than or equal to sign, right? So what they're saying with this is you have DNF, you have options that you can use, but you must give it a command, and then in brackets, if you're gonna use arguments, you have to use the if you're gonna use arguments, it's in the greater than less than sign. There are arguments, but so what does that really mean? So when you come down here, let me go back up here. You see available commands. So it says I can use DNF, and I don't have to use what's in these brackets right here. I could just use command, which would be auto remove, downgrade, group, history, install, list, or whatnot, right? So let's go back and try some of those, right? So if I hit clear, uh, and as you saw back in that man page, it said Yum redirects to DNF command reference. So I could use DNF too. So I could say DNF um, list, and if I hit enter, it's gonna go through and list all the RPMs that are available to me out there, right? And we don't, if we're not sure what list does, we can go back to the man on Yum or man DNF, and we do a search for list. Here's list right there. Just the next one highlighted. So let me go down here to finds list. We're in the E's and the L's. See, we passed it. Yeah, we passed it. Let me go back up because it's giving me options now. So let's come back down here. Dependency list and then list. We want to find out what does list actually give us, right? So those are options. Here are options. So it's probably, I wonder if they got the command below the options. All right. Alias, alias. So we're gonna keep. Let me page. Let me GG. No. We'll just do this. I just do next. Clean, downgrade. Mm-mm-mm. It's a group list. Don't want that. Group. Okay, history. No. That's info. Install. All right, list. So here's the list command. and you can do, I guess you can do DNF ls or DNF or yum ls. It prints list of packages depending on the package's relation to the system. A package is installed if it is present in the RPM DB. So basically, they're saying, hey, these are the packages that are actually installed on your system, right? So we can double verify that because um a yum install on tmux. So oops, if we just come back here and do a DNF list and then pipe it over to grep, right? We want to sort some stuff. We want to grab tmux. And so there, and this actually is pulling from the repos actually, but it's actually showing you where it's pulled from for the repos, but it also gives you the whether it's x64 or the source or the bug, and it also gives you the version right here. So we got some useful information. But what did we just learn? We just learned how to use we just learned how to use yum. We learned how to look at a command and look to see what options are available. We learned how to install a package. We learned how to use the man pages. And on top of all of that, we installed the package. And we can now go back and do another command that is important is yum history or DNF history. And what that's going to tell you is it's going to tell you, hey, uh, on 10/6 at on 10/6/2022 at I guess that's 23, that's 12 o'clock, 12:23, right? Um you install tmux. You also install Ansible core on 901, and then it tells you what how many packages was altered to do that install, and it also shows that you had an upgrade and so forth. So why is this important? Well, yum history gives me the ability to roll back changes. So if I want to roll back a change, I could. So let's do a yum, which is the command, and then history, and then do dash dash help. Let me clear my screen so you can see that too. And so, well, let me clear it again. And then let me do a pipe over the list. So it says yum history, and then you see these big block of options that you can use, right? It says you can do a yum history to display or use the transaction history. So if I want to roll back what I just did, I can use a yum history, and I can go and say, well, let me undo what I just did, right? I want to roll back something that I just did. So let's go here and see what can we use. I think I can do yum history 1. I think they should roll me back. Let me double check that at the top here. I'm trying to look at the, so we got a config, we got a version, we got a path, we got disable, enable, but I think I could just type in, yeah, right here. So right here I have a command and then a transaction, right? So now I need to give it a command and then a transaction. And so the commands are more than likely is undo. So let's jump down here to the commands, and we're going to undo 1. So let's go down here. So the commands that are available to me are list, info, redo, replay, roll back. If you did an upgrade, you can roll back, store, and then undo. So we're going to do undo, right? So I'm going to quit. I'm going to do yum history undo 1. And so, oh, look here. It tells me problems. It says, hey, if you're going to get rid of tmux, this operational would result in removing the following protected files, and it's telling me what all it's going to remove. And it also says try to add dash dash skip broken to skip uninstallable packages or it said or dash dash no best to use not only best can, I guess, dict. I'm not sure what that's, what is date, d-date. I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, packages, right? So let's go. I don't know what I don't know what that means. I wonder if that's a typo. And if it is a typo, you just found your first pull you can make out on their yeah, I don't know. Is that supposed to be, oh, candidate? Oh, there it is. I was like, okay. I'm like, what is dictate? Is, I've never seen that before. It's candidate. It is candidate. All right. So so far, does everybody understand what just happened? I'm attempting to do. So now let's do dash dash. Let's do dash dash no best and see what happens. Doesn't like that. Let's try skip broken. Doesn't like that either. It says this problem would result in removing the following protective packages. I got that part. But let's go back to our yum. Maybe we got some other commands that we can use to enforce it. So let's go back, do a man on yum. Let's go down to the bottom of our page here because I think the commands are at the bottom. Any questions so far? Specifying modules, transactions, name. Let's see. I remember how it was spelled. See. Oh, they don't like that? Maybe because it's in the bracket. Let's go undo. Well, I don't like that either, huh? Let's try history. All right, so history, DNF history, info, redo, replay, roll back. I want to undo.
Yeah, I lifted up. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. So undo, perform this. I want to do. I don't need to give it a spec file. Show only install only packages installed outside of DNF and packages not installed with DNF. Nope. We should be able to give it the transaction. So let's go back and do a yum history. And now I might have gave it the wrong thing. I might want to give it 11. So let's clear and do a yum history 11. Okay, there we go. I did the wrong one. And now you can see what I just did was I installed tmux. But now for yum history, I'm uninstalling it. And then I just do yes. And now it's going to install those 2 RPMs for me. And how do I know those are gone? I can do a RPM-QA and I can grab for tmux and it'll show that it's not there because the RPM database is also updated as well too. And now when I do a yum history, you can see that I installed I uninstalled transaction ID 11 and that's number 12 and transaction ID 11 is installed. But now you can go back and do a yum history. Well, let's do a man on yum. And then let's type history. And here we can redo yum history redo. So now we can do yum history redo and then do 11. And so now it's going to come back and say, oh, you want to do install those packages? Sure. And now we install those packages. So what we covered was, part of what we covered was this. Inside of here, there is a section on installing packages. And that's chapter 11. And inside of here, they go on to talk about registering your system, updating your software and installing it, explaining what an RPM is, and so forth. And I'm skipping around throughout this entire book. I'm skipping around throughout this entire section, so that you can get just a feel, like everything doesn't have to be in order, but so you understand, one, the importance of installing packages, and two, what is an RPM, and so forth. But that's not the only reason why we're here. I heard somebody coming off mute. Did somebody have a question? No? Okay. So the other thing was, we want to install tmux. Now I want to install Terraform. And it may not be in Red Hat's repository. And let me do Terraform. So if I type in TERR and I double tab, you see my screen is blinking. Normally you'll hear some sounds, but what it's telling me is ain't nothing. There's nothing on your system with TERR. How about, is there something on my system with TER? If I hit double tab, I'm getting nothing. What about TE? So there's something there with TE, but nothing with TRR. So therefore, it's not in the repos for Red Hat. It's not in the repos for and it's not on the system. So now I have to go out to Terraform or Hashi's website and install Terraform. So what you do is you come over here to Hashi and you just type in Terraform. And we'll go to downloads. And you're going to go Linux, and they tell you want Ubuntu, you want CentOS or RHEL. That's what we got. And basically, you could just come in here, and they usually have a cut and paste, but they don't. But it's okay. So they're telling us first we need to install yum utils. And notice here they have the $ and then sudo. That means I'm a regular user installing using the sudo command to install these packages. So we got sudo right here, and we're gonna go back to our box here. And I don't need sudo, but in this case, we'll do it, right? So the -y made it automatically pull, right? So now I had the -y, and now I'm running and I'm installing yum utils. The next one that we want to install is, we want to grab and configure this package manager, or this repo, I should say. So this config, I can just grab this part right here. It's gonna install this into a particular area, and this particular area is where all the yum repos are at. So I'm gonna clear my screen, and if we go to cdo to etc yum.repo.d and do an ls, you'll see I got a Google Cloud, and then I have a Red Hat Cloud repo files, right? How do I know that they're files? Well, if I did a ls capital F, that's going to tell me that they're files. But also if I did a ls-l, they'll also tell me that they're files. And I know that because there's no D in the front right here. So they're most definitely a files and not directories. And one more thing, if I do file Google Cloud.repo, it's telling me it's an ASCII text. An ASCII text is usually a file. And then if I do file on Google Cloud.repo, ASCII text, that tells me it's a file. Well, Tamika, well, how do you know if it's a directory or not? Well, I'm going to CD up one, and I'm going to do an LL, and then I'm going to do file on yum.repo, tmux.d, and it tells me blatantly that there's a directory. So if you have any type of doubt and you're not sure how to figure out if something is a file or a directory, you can use the file command. You can look right here and see if you did an ls minus l, there's a d in front. If it's a L in front, it's a link. If it's nothing in front, it's a file. So being that I just said that, let's see who's paying attention to what Tamika is saying. All right, so let's go around the room, and don't be shy, don't be afraid, because there's nobody here. There's no wrong answer. There's always a right answer. I'm just playing with you. Let's go around the room. Bree, I know you're your first time here, but I'm assuming you're paying attention here. I reiterate, in order to find out something is a file or a directory, you can use what command?
Oh, so you'll use the ls to get a list,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can tell if there's a D at the beginning before the R, if it's a file or directory.
Correct. All right. What's another way, Heather? Thank you, Bree. What's another way? She gave me the ls minus l for the list, and you can type it if you don't want to say it out loud, and you can also phone a friend. Give me one other way.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
You're asking if it's a directory or a link, right?
I'm asking how can I tell if it's a directory or a link? I got one answer, which was the ls minus l, but what else can I use? Just gave you 3 different ways.
Well, I know from here, like, if it's like a D
Go ahead. Yep.
at the beginning, um,
Yep.
it's a directory. And if it's a link, isn't it green or the
So
bluish color?
don't be fooled by that, because sometimes it may be a different color on different systems. But yes, there's one way. But if you're not sure, the L is in front to let you know. But there's one other way. Who's paying attention and got it? There's one other way. ls minus f. There's one more.
Yeah.
The file command. Your buddy. Your file is your homie. File, yum, repo. Oh, what is it? It's a directory. And if I do file.yum.conf, it's a symbolic link. It flat out tells me, unless you can't read. And I hope that no one's in here can't read, but it tells you it's yum.conf, symbolic link to, that's the one link. Yep, stat is another one. Stat is another one. So there's more than one way to figure these things out, is my point, right? There's more than one way to get the answer that we're looking for. So everybody got that so far? We're good? All right, cool. And the stat command, I'll run it. So yeah, I keep typing over here in the chat because I was over in the chat. Clear. You can do stat on let me see what's in here. Issue. Is issue still there? So file issue is gonna give you modified time. Also tells you that it's a regular file right there. And we can do the same thing on yum.repos.d, and it automatically tells you it's a directory right there. Right? So we got multiple ways to figure out whether something is a file, a directory, or a link. And if you're not sure, if stat still works, you can do a stat on system dash release, and it tells you it's a symbolic link right there. Right? So we got file, we got ls minus f, we got looking at the beginning of the directory, we got stat. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing one more, but you get it. All right, so let's get Terraform installed. All right, so I think I copied it, but I can't remember if I did or not. So I'm gonna come back over here and grab this. One thing about when you install packages, you need to be root, or as I like to say it, because other people say it, rut. You need to be the rut user. And the way that works is let me see if I exit here, you can see you can see the actual change from $ to £, right? So $ means I'm a regular user, meaning I may or may not have sudo privilege. Yes, they do. They do say that. You just ain't been in you haven't been in the rooms when they say it. The rut. I'm the rut user. All right, so um in order to become this super user, I do sudo su dash, but most people don't like to be in that mode, right? So I'm gonna go back to regular user, right? And then I'm gonna cut and paste what I just had in there, and then I'm gonna hit enter. And it tells me you need super user privilege. You need to become the rut user. So in order to do that, without becoming a user, if I do Control A, that gets me back to the beginning of the line. If I did Control E, that gets me to the end of the line. So Control A to the beginning, Control E to the end. Shortcuts you may not know, but now you do. Control A to the beginning, Control E to the end. I'm going back to the beginning, and I'm gonna just type sudo because I don't want to be installing as the root user. And then I hit enter, and what it did was is added a file to that the etc yum.repo .d file. How do I know that? Because that's where it always goes. One, but you can create repo files and update your yum.com file and point it to other places. But for all intents purposes, keep it simple for yourself and just do an ls on etc yum.repo d. And now before we had just 2 files, now we have 3, and you can see there is hashicorp .repo. Now let's make it even more simple on ourselves and do an ls on etc yum repo.d, and I'm going to do star or blob. Blob is in Terraform, star is the wild card or whatever. And actually, I don't want to do an ls Control A. Going back to the beginning, I actually want to do a cat. And I want to read the file, all the files in that directory. All right, so you can see everything spewed out all over my system. No order. So here, if I did not that, pipe it over to less, you can see that I got my files, which more than likely line up with Google repo files, line up with everything that's Google. And then I have my hashy files here, right? And so my hashy files right here, the HashiCorp test, they have my hashy information all lined up for me. And then I also have some red hat information in here too, right? So that all came from reading, um, oops, my bad, reading everything in this directory here. Red Hat Cloud repo, HashiCorp repo, and Google Cloud repo, right? So that when we do this, once we get done installing, I can do a double tab. So now it tells me that you're all lined up. So normally what I do is when I want to make sure everything is going to read properly, right? Once I add a repo file, I always do a yum repo list. And the reason why I do that, I want to make sure it's reading the repo files and that they are actually set up properly. There's a proper way to set up repo files. And also I want to make sure that the system is reading it. Before we only had Google Cloud and Red Hat, and now we got HashiCorp. So now you see HashiCorp files are there. And so now I could do a yum search Terraform. And so it automatically went to Hashi. It's telling me that Terraform is out there. It also tells me that there is a Google Cloud CLI Terraform tools here. And then there's a Terraform LS. So I got multiple things here. And then I got a Google Cloud SDK Terraform, right? I got some stuff from different places. that I can choose to install. So I can use the Terraform tools, Google Cloud CLI Terraform tools, the validator, so forth. But I want to install just regular Terraform. Now this would be different in terms of the Google Cloud stuff. If you're in AWS, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that if you're in DigitalOcean and so forth. This is just for this environment. All right. So now let's do a yum, or we can do DNF install Terraform, and I'm not going to pass the -y. I just want you to see what ends up happening, right? It says, hey, and here's the difference between yum and RPM. Yum goes out and resolves dependencies for you. In other words, if I downloaded an RPM from a website and I use RPM to install it, RPM is not going to resolve the dependencies. Just like when we did tmux, we installed tmux and it went and grabbed the dependency that tmux needed. So if I would have grabbed it and just tried to install tmux, it would have errored out on me and said, hey, you need to install this RPM first. Why is that a bad thing? Because now you get in what we call the RPM hell, where you're just like, well, I'm going to go install this RPM because tmux needed it. And tmux is like, yeah, well, go get it. And you go get that RPM, and that RPM say, well, I got a dependency too. And you need to go get these 5 RPMs. So now you're in what we call RPM hell and looking for dependencies all over the place, when you can use DNF or yum in order to resolve those dependencies. So now we have DNF install. You can see that it's checking the metadata. It's also giving you a timestamp here, but it also gives you the package, the architecture, the version, the repository of which it came from, and the size, right? So you get a lot of information about, I'm going to install this package, and here we go. I need some space, or this is a newer version this is a version that I didn't want to install. I want an older version. I don't want the latest and greatest. I may want a version back. And it depends on the project, and it depends on what they're using out of it. And depends on, like, if you're in DoD space, it may be that particular RPM may need to be approved. So then I'm gonna hit yes. And you can see the next thing that happens is it says, okay, well, I'm downloading it. Boom, got it. I'm gonna download it. Oh, guess what? Because in my repo file over in yum etc yum repo.d, and in the hashy repo file, there is probably a GPG check in there. Now, this is where it gets into security, and this where it gets into, say, supply chain. What I'm doing there is saying, hey, if this hash doesn't match up with this repo from this repo, then this GPG check, that, like, we shouldn't be using this. This is bad. This is, somebody has hacked it. Somebody has actually done something bad. I'm not going to install that, right? So then you hit yes, and it tells you right here as well through the fingerprint, the GPG key, and so forth, right? It's all of that is important, because when you create your own RPMs, you're gonna create RPMs and sign them, and then create your own keys and then give them off to someone, right? So you hit yes, and now it's installing Terraform. And now after it gets installed, we can go back and type our command at TERR or just TER, and we hit double tap. Oh, look at there, Terraform automatically auto completes. So therefore, we know Terraform is installed. It's working from command line. We're ready to go. I can even type -- help, and it would give me, hey, look at there, console force unlock, whatever the case may be, give me all my options for Terraform. So what did we learn? We learned how to read what is happening when the package gets installed, the repo files that got set up in /etc yum.repo.d. We also learned how to check to see if it's actually reading those files correctly by doing a yum repo list. And then we installed the package using yum or DNF in order to get the package installed that we desired. right? And we also learned how to remove that package. If we did a yum history, let's see who's paying attention. Janet, did you just get here? You might have just got here. That's okay.
No,
I won't call on you.
oh,
You
okay.
been here? You been here?
Yes,
No. Oh,
yeah.
you off mute now. All right, Janet. How do I remove Terraform by using Yum history?
Okay, so you would say yum history undo, and then you'd say number 15, I think. Yeah,
You
number 15.
think? You want to
No, I
phone a
know. It's
friend?
number 15. No, no, it's 15.
All right, so let's see how many of y'all think Janet got it right. Type in the chat. Say one for yes and two for no. One for yes. Let's see how much faith they got in you, Janet. Let's see. Let's see if they got faith in you, Janet. Let's see if they got faith in you, Janet. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna hit enter now. Oh, look at here. Let's see what's happening here. It says the keyword we're looking for is removing Terraform. We're gonna hit yes. And now it removed Terraform. Good job, Janet. You paid
Okay.
attention. All right. All right. So now let's call on Ben. How do I reinstall this Terraform RPM without going to do a yum install? How can I reinstall it?
Yum history redo number 15.
All right, cool. You see how simple these tasks are? Very straightforward. Let's go look at yum. Let's do a man on yum. And then let's get down to history because you asked about remove. Let's see. All right, so DNF, we have a redo, we got a replay, we have a rollback, we have a store. I don't think we have a remove. I think remove is gone. We could double verify here, yum history. Then we can do dash help here. Yeah, it gives me all the yum help. It doesn't give me just the help with history, but I don't think there's a remove anymore. Yeah, the only thing you have, if you look at the commands, only thing you have is list, info, redo, replay, rollback, store, undo, and user installed. So that gives another point. Let's do yum history user installed. So as you can see, it's giving me the things that were installed by the user. I'm assuming at this point the user will probably be root. All right, and so you can see Terraform comes up, tmux comes up, Vim, Python, the different kernels and so forth. All those come up. Now let's do one other thing. Let's do a yum update. Let's see what we're at. So our Google Cloud SDK is older. SE Linux policy and policy targeted, and then TZ data. So let's just do a yes on that. Just to make sure our system is up to date with the latest and greatest. No security vulnerabilities, no CVEs out there, and so forth. That's what you want to do with a Yum update. A Yum upgrade, you may upgrade the system from one version to another version. Like you would say, oh, Fedora 8 is out, so I had to be on Fedora 7.5 before I can upgrade to Fedora 8. And so you would work yourself up to get to 7.5, and then you would just upgrade your system to the next one. Now you can see how big this SDK is. You can see how slow it's running. So that's going to be a minute. All right, so we've installed Terraform, we've installed tmux, we need to install Ansible. Well, I think Ansible is already installed, so we don't have to install that. All right, so why did I have you do all those things for your environment? Well, what we want to do is all these steps right here, that we had all the teams doing individually, everybody is going to do them by themselves. So, um, understanding what the etc directory is, the proctor directory, what is the structure of a cron job, but also make a cron job. Open up a firewall on port 636. How do you do that? Find out what is the IP address of your machine and the gateway of that machine. What is the kernel? Well, define that for me. What is a kernel, and how do you find out what the current kernel is on your machine? How do you turn SC Linux off and then turn it on? And what are your options for SC Linux? And then how to rsync files from one directory to another. But since we're going to be using Terraform, you should be able to rsync files from one machine to another machine. And so this is where Terraform and Ansible come into play, because now you can take these steps and you could do all these steps manually. And we could do this manually. But then the next step would be, how do I take those steps and actually automate those steps and do it without me doing those things manually? Does this make sense for everyone? All right, cool. All right, so let's get cracking. Does everybody have their environment set up? You need more time. Oh, cool. Well, since everybody got their environment set up, we're getting ready to get cracking. I want to start backwards. Let's go backwards. Let's start with Team 3, Tux, right? And everything on this list is fair game. Everything on this list is fair game. And guess who's not gonna do it by themselves tonight? Me. I'm not. You're gonna tell me how to do these things. So you have the internet. You can use that. You can phone a friend. You can even just go rattle it off the top of your head, straight off the dome, man. All right. So are y'all ready? Or you need to get all your stuff in order? What do y'all need? Links? Do you need documentation? The best documentation in the world is Red Hat. You need time? That's okay. We got time. You can always phone a friend. All right. So my best advice for everyone is to go to redhat.com. Red Hat developers. Let me do that. Red Hat developer subscription. That's what you want. And I think it's going to take you to another link. I think it's this link here. Let me see. I'll drop this link because you all need this. So what do you get out of the Red Hat developers link? What you get is a free version of Red Hat that you can use, and then you can register up to 15 machines back with their Red Hat satellite server. Let me drop this link too. And I need to go and update this. I haven't been updating this. I need to. This needs to get updated. All right. See, it's still going here. Still doing this thing. I knew that was going to be a minute. The SDK is long. It takes a while. So it says install, and I am looking right here. Install Cockpit on your machine. What is Cockpit? What does it do? What does it allow us to do? And be able to give us information about what Cockpit gives us the ability to do, from creating user stats, whatever the case may be. And because you're in the cloud, you may have to open up some ports and so forth so you can see these things. So that's just a FYI. So let's get busy. First, let's go to Red Hat's website and look up documentation. And if you are in the class, if you are part of the class, in the course, they have they have one in here for Cockpit. Let me try to find that. actually have a class on installing Cockpit. RPMs, access Linux file system, analyze. It's somewhere in here. I think it's this one. Right here. So here's what Cockpit looks like, right? I'll go through this and then we'll do the install. Let me go through this. Okay. All right. So basically, this is an active web console management interface to remotely manage and monitor the performance of Red Hat servers. And they also have Red Hat Insights as well too. We'll touch a little bit on that. But this is all free game from this first scenario. But if you don't want to um log into the machines, you can use the web console so the machines to manage. But you need to make sure that you lock that down too. All right. So what does this line do right here, Charlene? What is this right here? What is this actually doing? Charlene, are you there?
I don't know what DNF is.
Remember, DNF is the same as YUM. And it's a package manager, right? And remember, the package manager is what we use to install packages for our Red Hat boxes. So DNF or YUM install Cockpit, right? So we're installing a package called Cockpit, right? So with that being said, let's see if we can do that over here. It's done now. Before we do a DNF install, let's just do a DNF search and then let's do Cockpit. Well, look at there. The repos are back working again. And as we can see, we got Cockpit Composer, we got Cockpit Machines, we got Cockpit Web Service, and then we just got regular Cockpit up here, but we got a ton of Cockpit. We just gonna go with Cockpit right here, the first one. This one is the source code, but we're just gonna install Cockpit, right? So clear DNF. Remember, DNF is your package manager. YUM is also the package manager. YUM points to DNF. And then remember, we have options and then we have a command that we have to give it. What am I talking about? If you do a man on DNF, you can see there's DNF and here's the command. Remember, we got options that we can put in there. And then there's command. And then the package that we want to install, most definitely. Right? So we say DNF or YUM install Cockpit. And remember when I said YUM or DNF resolves those dependencies for us? It's 84 packages. Suppose you just downloaded the RPM and installed DNF. You'll be there forever. You'll be there forever trying to get all these packages. So now I just say yes. Do me a favor. Do your thing. All right, cool. Doing your thing. The next one up is this line here. Now, this line is what we call how we control processes and daemons, DAEMONS. And what we're doing in this case is we're saying, hey, I need for you to enable a service. Now, before it used to be to enable a service, it would be service and then the service name and then what you want to do with it. So it'd be service SSHG start. But we moved over to system D, and system D, the structure is systemctl, the action you want to do on the service. But there's a trick to this one. This one says systemctl enable, and then it's a dash now, and then the actual socket. What it's doing is enabling it and also starting it with the dash now. How do we know this? Let's do a man on systemctl. and you can start to see a pattern. I have the command that I want, systemctl, or I guess you could say a command and a command. And then it has options, and then it has commands that are associated with it, like systemctl enable, systemctl restart or start, and then the unit that you want to have that action upon, right? Whether it's SSHD or in this case cockpit.socket. And if you come down here, let's look up what our options are here. We'll skip past some of these. Here it is right here. So you can do a status, is active, is failed, and these are what we consider our commands. Let me scroll back up because I want to show you where it starts at. You see commands? That command lines up with that command. So systemctl list units, systemctl list sockets, systemctl is active, is failed, status, right? That's what you would be doing with that. And then they give you an example. If you want to see if Bluetooth is what's going on with Bluetooth, it's saying, hey, systemctl status Bluetooth. So give me the status. What's going on with it? Is it running? Is it not running? Is it inactive? And then it spews out what it is, and you can see that it's running. So we installed Cockpit. We didn't start it or anything. So in our case, we could do systemctl status Cockpit, and I think I got to do .socket, and it tells us the information that we knew already, that it's inactive, nothing going on, and it's also disabled, meaning that the purpose of the enable is if I didn't enable a service, right, and I went to go restart my machine, if I don't have that enabled, then that service is not going to come back up. Here's where this is really, really important. The two services in your lifetime that's going to always be important to you, maybe three. Imagine if you are working on a remote computer, say it's in Australia, and you disabled networking from being when the system reboots, the networking doesn't come back up. The system comes back up, but networking doesn't come back up. So guess what you just did? You just took out a machine. You have no SSH, and you don't have any network, right? So guess what you got to do? And it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Either you brought yourself a ticket to Australia, or you're gonna have to get somebody on the phone, and hopefully you can find somebody to go into whatever room or log on to some KVM to bring that machine back up for you and put it back on the network so you can use it. Or you might have stopped a service, some type of service from using it. Maybe some other service or some other people dependent on that, right? An another one is if you don't have the service enabled, you could be throwing off other services, right? That may depend on that machine, right? So rule of thumb, this is what you always want to do. Before you restart a machine, right? When I say restart, I mean clearly reboot. You want to do with any service, you want to do system CTL enable cockpit dot socket. And I'm doing the oh, I did it wrong. I'm doing it the long way. I didn't do the enable, I mean the dash now, because I want to show you something. I just enabled it, right? So let's go back and now look at the status, and you can see now that it's enabled before where it was disabled, right? So in theory, if I reboot this machine, cockpit is going to come up for me, but it's not running right now. So now I want it to run. So I can just use the up arrow, and I can just type start, And now when I do I'll leave it right here so you can see it on the screen. When I do my status, ooh, I get some green on here. It also tells me that it's active, it's listening, it's ready, it's enabled. It also give me some output of what's going on with the service. So I'm gonna hit quit. But here's another one. If I vim var log messages, and I just use the double G, so let me tell you what I did. I did lowercase g takes me back up to the top. Shift double G takes me down to the bottom. And you can see here the cockpit service is starting, listening, starting, MOTD deactivated successfully, finished cockpit. Yay, we're running it. Ooh, woo. All right. Ooh, cockpit. All right, so what does that mean? What's that mean? It means that we have a service running, and remember, this is a web console that I can use in order to access this machine. But even more importantly, I have firewall CMD service that I need to open up. So let's talk about firewalls. Anybody want to give me any useful purposes of firewalls? Melissa, what's a good useful purpose for a firewall?
To protect the the information on the system.
Correct. What else? What else is a good purpose of a firewall? You
To
know, give me a firewall that you got in your house outside of your router.
the firewall to my own internet.
That's one, but outside of your router or firewall to your house, what else? It's the first line of defense, I would assume.
If you're talking sort of like basically, you mean my front door? You're talking like that?
Your front door, or it could be your alarm system,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
right? It's there to protect, right?
Right.
What is it? What is the firewall actually supposed to be doing? Anybody can talk now. Anybody can talk. What do you think a firewall is supposed to be doing? Is it supposed to be keeping bad guys out?
Keeps bad guys out and prevents leakage of your information.
Correct, right? So firewalls work both ways, right? Bad guys out, but also keeps you under control from letting bad things in, right? Right? And bad things out of the network as well too. It's a two-way street, right? So when you look at a firewall, the and when you think about security, it's always the least open, right? We don't want to open everything. We want to give you least privileges first, and then from least privileges we'll slowly open up stuff. That's usually how that works. All right. And so when we hold on, let me type this. I'm checking my work computer. All right. So when we do this, we want to say, well, first off, what's open on the firewall, right? So we have a new command. We have two new commands that we've been working with. One is systemctl, and the next one is firewall cmd. But guess what? There's another firewall if you're in the cloud. If you're in AWS, it's security groups. If you're in GCP, it's actually firewall, right? So we have the firewall, the actual system itself, like the actual Linux box or the Windows box, and then we have another firewall, which is the firewall to the firewall to enter. I guess you could say GCP, right? You sign in, you got some authentication you have to do, and everything there. All right, so firewall CMD. All right, so let's do a man on firewall CMD. I meant to hit dash, but you get it. All right, so firewall CMD gives you it's a firewall command line client, but it is a command line client of firewall daemon. Remember that word I talked about earlier, the daemon. So if it's a daemon, guess what it has to have? It has to be running. It has to have something, right? So let me back out of here. Let's do systemctl status firewall. CMD. I think it may be firewall D. Yeah, I think it's firewall D. All right. And so there it's running. Right there. It tells me that it's running. What did it also tell me about it? Is it enabled or not? Let me pick on Nina. Is this service enabled? Meaning if I reboot, is this service enabled? Would it come back to me? Do I need to go to Australia?
I'm gonna guess yes.
You saying yes, it's enabled, or yes, I gotta go to Australia?
Yes, it's enabled.
And where you getting that from? What line you looking at?
Um, right above your mouse where it says yeah, right there.
This one, enable. Yep. All right.
Yeah,
That's where it's at.
yeah.
Now, cool, great. Lori, is this service running or is it stop? What's going on with it? What are you reading when you see this? Is Lori running from the Lord? Lori's not there. Maybe Lori need to phone a friend. Glenn, is it running? Disabled? What's going on? Running, active, rest, active running. All right, so we see that there. And also gives you the PID, right, of that, meaning the process ID. PID is process ID. That's important. So when you do top, right, you get a listing of process IDs that are actually running. We'll talk more about top later, but we'll get into that. All right, let's clear that. All right, so we know it's running, but now we want to know what's running, right? What's going on with firewall CMD, right? So let me clear, and then let me do a help here and pipe that over to less. All right, so we have firewall dash CMD, and they tell you firewall dash CMD, and then you got options, right? So I can get help, I can get the state, I can reload, right? I can get default zone, I can list all zones, list dash all zones. So let's do that. Firewall dash CMD list, was it all zones? Did I get that right? The one I remember, list all. I must have got it wrong. Firewall list all zones. Did I not have that right? Oh, it must not be right. Let me go back. I might have messed it up. I got list all ports. Let me go zones. List ingress zones, egress zones. Was it that? That's dash dash list. I want to list zones. I must have missed it. I go back up to the top. Get zones. Yeah, dash dash list all zones. I thought I did that. Oh, I didn't do the dash dash. That's what you're saying. Boom. Okay, zones. Okay. So let's break this down. Everything I'm doing that I'm showing you tonight is everything that you're gonna need in order to work through these problems. How to install a package, How do you open up a firewall locally on a box? How do you tell if the firewall port is open on the box? What zone is it in? How do I use Terraform? How do I use cron job? How do I set up a cron job? Getting you used to how to look up commands and how to set up everything. So let's go here. We have block. We have a DMZ. And you can see here they have services in the DMZ for SSH. They have drop, like, hey, just don't respond. Like if you ping me, don't reply back, just drop it. Just drop the packets. External, home, internal, NM shared, public, and you'll get, as you become very, very familiar with it, here's a rule of thumb. Some people use the firewalls locally to the boxes. Some people just worry about the external stuff. Some people lock their boxes down, and then some people just don't have boxes exposed to the internet at all. But you need to know how to lock it down if you need it to, right? So let's click there. Let's go back here. All right. Now let's get a list of, not zones, but let's get a list of ports or services, right? So now I can just type service. So get services. But I want to get a list of services. So let's look and see what else. New service. That's not what I want. Load service. That's not what I want. I may have to do the other way. List everything added for or enabled. Let me see what does this give us. Let's go. Let's try. This is the beauty of these things. Try the command. Don't be afraid. Dash list. Dash all. So this is probably the one that's active, right? It's yep, that zone. Remember we looked up zones. It's showing you what's active on what interface and the forward and source ports and protocols and so forth, right? All right. So let's see. When we come back over here, we're gonna add a service called cockpit, and it's this dash permanent, meaning it's gonna add it to our permanent file and also our permanent file. It's gonna add it to our server so that it actually is on our. I think it goes by default to the. It may go by default to our trusted zone. Let me do that right here. I'm lazy. All right. So let's see if it got added to our trust. No, it didn't. So it might have went somewhere else. And the reason why what I'm looking for is I don't see cockpit as a service here. So let's clear. Let's do our list all, and then let's grep for cockpit. Nothing. Let me see. Oh, it's one list all. That's what it was. It was the other one. All right, up arrow. All zones. And let's grep for cockpit. All right, so let's go back here and do dash in. Let me see. Would it give me that? No, it's just giving me the lines. All right, so we're gonna have to go through and find out what cockpit got added to, right? Which zone did it get added to? All right, so let's go here. Yeah, let's leave less. All right, so no block there. I'm looking for services. DMZ has SSH. Services there, nothing on it. On that external has SSH. Home has cockpit. You see that? The services right here. You see cockpit there. Internal has cockpit. And then who else has it? Public has cockpit, and work has cockpit. So all of those different zones have cockpit service added to them. Now, once we do the firewall CMD dash reload, let's go look and see what it does first. We're not just gonna run the command blindly. We're gonna do a man on firewall dash CMD, and then let's look up dash reloaded, or reload, I should say. It says reload firewall rules and keep the state information. Current permanent configuration will become the new runtime configuration. So we did the dash permanent, so it can become, when we reload, it immediately takes effect. It says all runtime only changes done until reload until reload are lost. With reload, if they have not been also in the permanent configuration. So if I reload it and it's not there permanent, when I go to reload, it's not going to be there, right? So the dash permanent is your friend. So now we know what the dash reload does for firewall CMD. And now let's come back over. Oops, I was on the right screen. Let's quit. And now we're just going to do firewall dash CMD dash reload. Right? Boom. Now, before we do that, I always like to check my var log messages, because I just want to make sure that, we're on point, nothing happened. We got a time step on 116. If I type date, we got 133. So there's no errors that I'm getting there, right? I'm not seeing anything because 133, we got 130 right here, right? I don't see anything there. But also, if I CDO the var log, if I clear and do it ls minus ltrh, the last thing that was ran was messages. Something happened at 122, so we're good to go because that's the latest and greatest, and there were no problems and no errors in there. So okay, cool, that worked, right? I always double check my work even though it started successfully. I go check the log files because I want to see if there's anything that might have ignored or something of that nature, right? So now we got that open. So what it's saying here, I can go by the server name or the IP address on port 9090. But because I'm in Google Cloud, I have to go back to Google Cloud, right? And then I have to go to the console, and then I should be dropped right here where my machines are at. If not, you can go up to here in the menu and then go to compute engine. And I think I chose server 1. It has an external IP right here. So I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard, and it's telling me to go over port 9090, which may not be open on the firewall from GCP. So that's that double firewall that I was talking about. But let's say I don't have the luxury of being outside of the network. I could also do, see, let's do a netstat or SS. You can do SS tuna or netstat. I'm looking to see, so 9090 everywhere. So that's cool. So now I can do, let me see, YUM search or DNF search, Linux. Let's see. So this is a text web browser. So if I can't get out, I can install this text web browser. I think you can use elinks as well too. So I'm gonna do a yum install of -y of Linux. It's just gonna automatically install that for me because I passed the -y. Don't have to say the yes and all of that, right? And then download the dependencies. So in theory, I should be able to type Linux 127 because it looks like it's answering on everything and colon 9090. In theory, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes again. Oh, it didn't like me. Oh, there it is. There it is. Cool. It's funky looking, but what I'm doing is showing that I can hit it internally to my box. I can't hit it externally because there I have firewall rules set up um, inside of Google Cloud, right? So we know we open up the firewall port on the box, but the firewall to get in the building is blocked. So we need to go fix that. You need to go fix that. See, we're not getting anything. We know we can get there. We're not getting there. Now you can always set up a SSH tunnel and get there, but we're not going to do that. So if we come back over here to Google Cloud, it's instance 1. So I'm gonna come back over here, and you can do this in security groups on your AWS account. And so I'm gonna look for what's the name of it? Network services, is it? No, it's VPC network, I think it is. You gotta go to VPC network, and then you gotta go to firewall. All right, let me close this down. And then I know I have a 9090 in here, but let's edit this guy. Let me see if I can edit this one. Okay, so now I know that this is open. So what I have to do for real servers, targets, I think it's instance 1. And then let's save that. And let me go back over to my GCP. I'm gonna check it, but I think it's one more step that you gotta do. From what I remember, it's been a minute. You gotta bear with me. Yeah, I think we're good on this. Let me go here and let me edit. I think I gotta. I think I had to add the tags here. Yeah, I think I gotta add the tags here. I gotta go back and get that tag. Let's just double verify that this is not working. It shouldn't be working. Let me go back to VM instances. Let me grab this, and then we'll do 9090. Right, not working. Okay, so we go back over here to Google Cloud. Let's go back down here to network. In VPC network these are networks, right? This is considered a VPC. In Google Cloud, VPC network is the equivalent to VPC inside of AWS. So let's go back to firewall. And I chose the tag should be cockpit. That's the tag name. So let's go back to our Google Cloud. And let's see if we can get this to work. Anybody got faith in me that I get it to work? Yay. Put a 1 in the chat if you do. Put a 2 if you don't believe me. Somebody, y'all got a lot of faith. All right, so let's click on it. And let's go back to manage tags. It was cockpit. Let's edit. If not, we're gonna be troubleshooting this. And let's manage. Let's do, see, tags provides a way to conditionally allow or deny policies. Right. We're gonna add, and we're gonna say, the key does not need to be provided since the tag value is unique. So, okay. So we're gonna add, can I just add? The tag value must be a valid numeric ID. Oh, y'all killing me. I didn't get no ID out of that. Did y'all see that? I didn't. I didn't see it. But that's okay. All right, let's go down to VPC network again. Firewall. Yeah, see, I didn't get no ID. Oh, no, that's priorities. I know I went crazy. There's no ID there. Maybe I'm wrong. Default, ingress, allow, target tags. I don't see that. Let's see something here. We'll turn the logs on so we can get some logging. Yep. I don't see no ID. So let's go back to what they're saying. I may be wrong then. Manage tags. Is it a label? No, it's not a label. I may have to look it up. Interfaces. Oh, here it is. Network tags. I knew I went crazy. All right. Right here. Safe. And in theory, when it's done, should be able to reload that and hit advanced and then hit properties. And now I'm on an instance, right? And because I'm on this instance, I'm gonna add a user, add my test box Wednesday, make it hard for somebody to try to guess because it's open to the world right now. And I'll just make it the same. All right, my test box Wednesday. So in theory, come over to here. This password is the same as this, and then I should be able to log in. I don't have sudo privileges, but I am on the box using cockpit. So you saw that double firewall. There's a firewall that was on the box, and there's a firewall in Google Cloud. All right. So what did we learn? Well, we learned how to set up firewall rules in our cloud, but I did all this stuff manually. Time consuming, right? Time consuming. But I also got things spun up, and we can see now we got hardware. We can view our details on our hardware. It's an Intel box, Red Hat. It's a virtual, right? We got accounts that we can see that are on here, right? The account that I just added. We can get our IP address, right? Local. Right? We can also find out how much storage is on the box. and you can use Cockpit to connect to other ones. And you can see I had limited access. A kernel dump as well to SE Linux, whether it's on or off. All right. And it tells you that it's enforced, and I can turn it off if I were to root. Right. And any software updates, of course, we know we don't need that. We don't have our subscription set up to access Red Hat's satellite server, and then I actually get a terminal that I can log into here and say where am I at. I can CD over to temp, right? CD over to root, and I get a terminal all in the web browser to access and do whatever I want to, right? Pretty cool. In here they also got you logging into the console. It shows you your limited access. If you root, you have that. Your accounts that you have, to give you a tour. You can go in and set passwords, set up a new user. You can troubleshoot what's going on with your system. You can get metrics about the system as well too. You can inspect log files instead of you doing the vim. You can come here, just drop down to the logs, right? And then the times on those logs, 24 hours or what have you. Then they also break down these logs, right? You can run stuff in a terminal, which I just showed you, and then you can create a diagnostic report or an SOS report, and send that off. You will have trouble with your systems and system power options, like if you want to power down or reboot or whatever. What services are running on the machine? So we can come over here. We can go services, and it's gonna give us a list of services that are running on the system, and we can enable it and so forth and so on. Right here, stop, restart, and disallow running mask buttons as appropriate to manage the service and so forth. Right? Then you can configure your firewalls. So we did all that on the command line. We could have had Cockpit and just came here, edit some rules, and set it up. So let's go back over here and set up networking. Firewall, we got one active zone. And then we hit edit rules and trusted zone. Let me go back. Probably let me go in this way. Oh, it's not. Oh, I'm not root, so I don't have that access. I don't have that access. First root, or if I had, yeah, I think you gotta log in as some power user. All right. Networking, so forth and so on, and just a list of stuff. And that is Cockpit. So you learn how to install Cockpit. You learn how to configure the firewalls, both on the instance and in GCP. It's a little different than in AWS. And on top of that, you learn how to add a user, how to manage it, how to interface with it, and so forth, right? And that is all. Oh yeah, like I say, get a Red Hat subscription and then sign up for Red Hat documentation. Like, go through their documentation. Literally, what I would do if a new operating system come out, I read the change log, what's new and what's the latest and the greatest, and then I sit down and read the admin guide from front to back, and it may be 300 pages, but I'm gonna read each one, and it may take me a week or two to read it. But I want to know everything is about the system, what I can do, what I can't do, what's what I used to be able to do, and what I can't do anymore, right? And let's see, scheduler running, yeah, yep, we went through all that, yep. And then the next chapter was managing remote systems. Hey, come in here, install Cockpit. Again, you're a regular user, right? And then they'll walk you through what you need to do there. You learn about the ID command, about who you are and what groups you belong to and so forth. But you can get all of that in Cockpit as well too, or you can just type ID-A and so forth. That's what they're doing in this lab. and you can knock that lab out. And then they talk about Red Hat Customer Portal and how do you get help and how do you upload your SOS report and how do you set up when you put in your ticket? What do you need to put into your ticket as far as like severities and what your issue is? It's a stop work that you need to probably put that in as a critical. And then what does this line do right here, Stacy? What is this line?
It installs SOS.
That's correct. What about this line? Take a while, guess, Stacy.
Generates a report in SOS.
That is correct. So let's look at that real quick. And then that'll be the last thing we do. It's going to take a while. I'll be nice. Sorry, dear. So it's telling me that it's going to collect the diagnostics on my system. It's going to archive it. It's telling you where to go visit that on Red Hat, this, that, and other. Do your thing by hitting enter. And I say yes, optionally, please enter a case ID if I got a case ID that I'm reporting this to. Like if I already opened up a ticket, I could put the case ID here and it'll, save that for me. And now it's going to do its thing. It's going to run and do its thing. So there you go. It's just that simple. And I think it drops it in var temp or var something. And I don't think it drops it in temp. I think it's var/var temp or something like that. I forget where it drops it off on top of my head, right? I forget. But that I'm gonna let that run and I'll share with you when it comes back up. So let me do this here. Start recording.